Well, it's new model time, and this time it's P. Mauriat who have delivered in the form of this Venus alto saxophone. And to my right, I also have a Venus tenor saxophone. And so today I'm going to be putting these guys through their paces in the usual way. But first of all, very obviously, you can see we are dealing with something that is quite apart from the usual P. Mauriat, more vintage-inspired image. So let's get going and see how these guys sound. Okay, let's talk about the saxophone in front of us here. So clearly we have a brand new look for P. Mauriat. It doesn't have that sort of old vintagey look that we're used to with P. Mauriats, and that's almost their sort of flagship identity piece, if you like. But with this, it's quite something different. And the base metal that we need to talk about, this sort of pinkish hue here, is actually copper-based brass. So it's 95% copper in there, which potentially can give it a lot of power and sort of zing in the sound. But we'll come on to that a little bit later. Otherwise, we have silver plating on the keys and mechanism here. Don't know if you can see it from there, but on the rib section running down the body, that's actually got a gold lacquer on it. So already we're dealing with a sort of pinkish copper hue, the silver plate, and then the gold. So it's a proper mixture of colours. It's, you know, like a real assault on the eyes, if you like. And then we've got green felts here, and we've got this black pearl key touches. So that's about, what, 5 or 6 colours altogether. And my feeling is that when you see the saxophone, you have some sort of reaction. You either think, wow, that is absolutely stunning. And I remember I did feel that myself when I opened the case. I couldn't believe it. It just looks so different from most other saxophones. Or perhaps you may react the other way and think, okay, that is not for me. Moving on to the design, the key thing that you need to know here is that it is based on the 67R model. And in the case of the tenor, it's the 66. So these are the flagship models that are very famous within the P. Mauriat range. So from that, you can guarantee that big, fat, full-bodied sound that we all know and love when it comes to P. Mauriat. But they've made a couple of modifications. So on the bell flare, it is reduced. We have a more standard size bell flare, not the extra extended bell flare that we get with the vintage-inspired P. Mauriats. And then also, these guys don't have rolled tone holes, so it's just straight drawn tone holes. So that is the design of the instrument, but otherwise, I just want to comment on the standard and quality that we now get with P. Mauriat instruments. As I'm looking at this key mechanism here, all I'm sort of presented with is quality in terms of the key tightness, the engineering tolerances, the components that are being used, high quality components to produce something that operates very soundly and securely. It feels great under the fingers. It feels very robust. And from that point of view, in terms of player confidence, you know that the setup on these instruments will hold for a long time, which is obviously of crucial importance for a sax player. So on the alto there, the first thing I should say is obviously the mouthpiece and the reed make a massive difference to the tone. So we're using my standard Mayer 6M mouthpiece, which naturally has a lot of core and then pop in the sound at the same time. But I would say that those characteristics just describe the core and the sort of pop and brightness in the sound is also inherent in the saxophone itself. So in a way, it's a nice combination. The two complement each other very well. So I enjoyed the overall tonal balance there. Typically, we're getting that P. Mauriat sort of warmth and body in the sound there. But additionally, with the copper, there is some extra ping and kind of crispness in the sound there. And I should say at this point, one of the first things I did a few days back when I was first testing out this saxophone was I compared it to the DK version just to see what those differences are, because I'd imagine that would be a popular question among you. And it very strongly had that kind of family resemblance, if you like. The two were clearly from the same mould, but they did differ when it came to the sort of slight characterization of the sound, and that this one was a little narrower, a bit more focused, whereas the DK just felt a bit fatter and more spread. And this one has a few more sort of highs in the sound, as we might expect from the copper. So that's my overriding feeling of the alto setup. So on the tenor, the same thinking applies as on the alto there, in that the mouthpiece is obviously crucial in defining the tonal characteristic, and this retro mouthpiece here has a lot of core and weight in the sound, but at the same time it's got a lot of cut. So we definitely heard that presence and cut in my tenor demonstration back there. And the same thing applies, of course. It's the DK sound versus this one here. The copper, we're getting that extra brightness and just a bit more focus than we would over and above a DK version on the tenor as well. But overall, tenor and alto, in fact, the sound is just huge. It's a very big sound, which we've come to know and love on P. Mauriats. They're very well known for that, producing a massive sound with plenty of layers and richness going on. So a lot to explore from the sax player point of view. Overall, when I'm trying to conclude how these saxophones sort of fit in to the P. Mauriat range, I think that based on the fact that the 67 and 66 models are so popular and still really the leading models in the P. Mauriat range, the fact that these are a sort of, if you like, maybe a tag on to that because they are essentially the same body but just in a different material, I suppose it really then just comes down to player preference. It's a very subjective thing. Do you like the look of it? Because it is obviously quite different from the standard vintagey, slightly grungy P. Mauriats. And if you really love the look of this, then you've got nothing to lose, because P. Mauriats just sound great naturally. So it's going to be interesting to see how it does. Great job on P. Mauriat's part for coming out with a new model and just coming out with something quite different from what they have produced up to now. So I look forward to selling these to you guys. They're now in stock in our store and available online.